I'm giving out one bet for every single fight this weekend at UFC 318. If you're new here, we're going through these fights. We're not picking winners. We're not breaking down stats for an hour and a half. We're finding one bet for every single fight, and we're hammering it. Last week was UFC Nashville, 12 total fights, 8 bets hit, 4 losses. I mean, that's pretty consistently where we've been at for the last 3.5 months since we started this show. I'm going to call it right now. You can go on YouTube, watch these other bet shows. Nobody's doing it as consistent as this one right here. I mean, you can go find these prediction channels and picking winners, all that. There's hundreds of them on YouTube, but if you want one bet for every single fight, you're in the right place. And if you want to get my premium bets, which I almost swept last week if it wasn't for Calvin Kattar, I just needed Kattar to win one single round, and we would have swept the premium bets up over 3 units on the night, even with that loss with Kattar. You can get all of those at winnable.com/HOF picks. And this week, if you use code 318, you'll get them absolutely free with a 5-day free trial. You get my bets, Hey Jive Picks bets, and come be a part of our community on Discord. It's the best in the game. Combined, we're up nearly 50 units this year. We've been up units the last 2 years since we started this. So, yeah, we're on fire. We're doing good. It's a long-term game, and we are cashing out money consistently. So, go join that. Get your free trial. See all the premium bets this weekend. And if you guys want to support me, support this channel, obviously, it'd be nice to get a like, a comment, or a subscribe, or for you to hit subscribe. But if you want to give back, go to Better DFS and try to win yourself some money just using my code. Code Nolan, 100% deposit bonus. You can win up to 100 times your money. So go deposit $10, make an 8-leg over-under parlay on the DFS app Better, and you can win 100 times your money. $10 to 1,000. See if you can do it. Use code Nolan. No more wasted time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just get into these fights right away. Kicking it off with an absolute banger, Carly Judice, Nicole Caliari. Now, these two fighters are relatively new to the UFC. A little bit different skill sets, though. Carly Judice has some sick striking. I think it's really good. Hasn't shown to be crazy powerful besides her last head kick, but she throws a shitload of volume. I mean, this girl racked up over 150 significant strikes against Gabriela Fernandez. Gabriela Fernandez is the girl who finished Kong Wang. Fernandez is a beast, and Carly Judice had to eat a lot of damage in that fight. She lost the fight, but she was dishing it out too. Just nonstop pressure, nonstop volume. And, you know, as far as a bet goes for this fight, you're obviously not going to pay this big price tag on women's MMA at minus 335. But I do think Nicole Caliari, still being new to this scene and this level of mixed martial arts, if she can't get takedowns and look for submissions and get stuck on the feet, I think she could melt. Like, I really do think Carly Judice can come out here and really put the pressure on her and start to break her down in the second and third round. So, yeah, man, I mean, fight to go the distance, minus 215, it's kind of low for a women's MMA fight. Like, a lot of times you're seeing minus 300, minus 400. I do think that if somebody's finishing this fight, it's probably Judice, and it's probably by volume and, you know, an attritional type of KO or TKO. Not saying her ground game's bad or anything. She couldn't get the submission. She just hasn't really shown us signs of that. But, yeah, so, you know, all in all, I'll take this fight to end inside the distance. We'll go some decent-sized plus money to kick this show off. It's women's MMA. What do we got to lose? Fight to end inside the distance, plus 175. You kind of cover the Nicole Caliari submission on that play as well, and you're also covering Judice by a big head kick or a attritional type of volume, pressure type of stoppage. So, yeah, that's what we're going to kick it off with, some decent underdog money to kick this thing off on the show. So let's run with it. All right, next fight up. Bruno Ferreira, Jackson McVey. God damn, Dana White, what the hell did Jackson McVey do to you? The guy signs up to fight Cedric Dumas. Dumas has the ankle monitor. The court won't take it off for him to fight. They find him a new opponent in Christopher Ewart, and that guy pulls out because he missed weight by 10 pounds. And Christopher Ewart's now scheduled for the Contender Series, so they had to cut him. And then Jackson McVey had to weigh in, and he got his win bonus and or his win money, show money, whatever it was. And now they're feeding him to Bruno Ferreira for his first official UFC debut. Like, this is quite the step up from both Cedric Dumas and Christopher Ewart. I mean, Bruno Ferreira is a guy that's hittable. Obviously, his gas tank isn't the best, but this guy is a marauder in the first round and a half. He's shown he can pull off submissions. He just won by armbar against Armin Petrosian. and he's knocked out RoboCop. The guy has big power in the hands. He can grapple. He's got a good judo base as well. And now, Jackson McVey, it's like, what's his skill set? Well, you don't really know at this level because you watch him on the regional scene and he's fighting janitors and taxi cab drivers, and he's finishing those guys in the first round. But I want to see him tested a little bit. I want to see him pushed past that first round and what he looks like with the cardio in rounds 2 and 3, or what he looks like after he's had to take a little bit of damage and get a little bit tired in there, and how he responds to that. Because if you don't respond well to it, and now you're fighting Bruno Ferreira, things probably aren't going to go well. He's probably going to find the chin and he's going to take your head off. And if you want to go to the wrestling route, you better watch your neck at all times too, because Bruno Ferreira has been known to pull off a couple of submissions. So in this fight, though, Bruno Ferreira is a massive favorite. I'm not obviously going to play that because stranger things have happened in MMA for one. And Bruno Ferreira, being that he's fought better competition, I still don't think he is invincible to these guys that are making their debut. It's just such an unknown with Jackson McVey at this level that it would make me very, very nervous parlaying Bruno Ferreira at such a big price tag when he's really not going to add much value to your parlays for one. So yeah, the under 1.5 is minus 245. Don't really like that either because, again, we don't really know what we're getting with McVey. Let's see what we can get on other props because the obvious click you would think is Bruno Ferreira by KO or TKO, and it's minus 130. Oh, we'll go with it. This is such a unconfident pick. We'll take Bruno Ferreira KO at minus 130. But maybe McVey is just extremely tough and can wear out Bruno and get to that second round, and then we see him in the second round for the first time, and he looks a lot better than expected. So you just never know. I'll stick with what I know. Let's take Bruno by KO here. Not super confident, not one I'd be rushing to the window to place your money on, but got to pick something. All right, next fight, Ryan Spann, Lucas Brzeski. I think Lucas Brzeski doesn't get enough credit. Not that he deserves a ton of credit, but you look at who he's fought in the UFC so far. Martin Buday, split decision, close fight. Carl Williams just got out-wrestled. Waldo Cortez Acosta gets knocked out. Didn't like that look, but he beat Walter Walker, and he beat him in a fight where he had to really work to get back to his feet, which he did really well. Like, Walter Walker had 4 takedowns in that fight and still lost a unanimous decision. Just shows me that Lucas was able to get back to his feet, separate, and get the striking going against a good grappler, and I like to see that. He loses by knockout to Mick Parkin. Didn't really like that look, and then a knockout loss to Kennedy and Zechkui. Not a great look there either, considering what happened to Kennedy versus Walker. Now, Ryan Spann is such a first-round guy that, if this thing does get past 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and we're in the middle of the second round, I think Lucas Brzeski is going to become very, very live to win the fight. Ryan Spann has fought better levels of competition, just took the win over Oven St. Peru, who's an older fighter, but outside of that, this guy has been losing nonstop. The thing is, it's against guys that are a lot higher level than Lucas Brzeski. Walter Cortez Acosta, Bogdan Guskov, Anthony Smith, Nikita Krylov, guys like that. But Spann has also shown, he can finish fights by knockout. He can finish fights by decision and by submission, rather, sorry. I think either of those paths to victory are going to be super live in the first round, just being that Lucas Brzeski has been finished before by guys who hit, I don't think, as hard as Ryan Spann or aren't out there swinging for the fences like Ryan Spann. Waldo Cortez Acosta has a ton of decision wins at heavyweight, and he was able to starch him with one, guys like that. So when I'm looking at what to bet on this fight, I think you have to look at just fight finishes round 1 and see what that price is, not even taking a side here. And then I think you look at fight to end in round 2, and you just kind of try to middle that somewhere. So we did that with Derek Lewis and what's his name, Taliesin Teixeira this past weekend. It worked out. We did it the week before with Jacoby Smith. We ended up hitting that plus 400 in round 2 for that finish, so it worked out. I kind of get a good read on these things, and when you can't find a good play, sometimes that's just the way you got to go. So we'll take the fight to end in round 1 and just allocate your money take round 2 as well. So no matter which one hits, you're going to make some money there, because I do think that Ryan Spann should finish this early. But if he doesn't, I think he could gas out and he could eat big shots at heavyweight here against Lucas Brzeski, and the fight could end in round 2 by either fighter there. So that's going to be the play for this fight. Fight to end in round 1, fight to end in round 2. Spread your money out and make some money. I think that one's hitting for sure. All right, next fight up, Marcin Prachnio, Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute is a pretty good-sized favorite here, and honestly, rightfully so, man. Marcin Prachnio, the way he's going to win fights is to just kind of point fight himself on the outside, kick the leg, use his little karate base that he has. He just doesn't hold a bunch of power. He's not knocking a lot of guys out, but he does take a lot of damage. We've seen him taken down. And, you know, when he does get taken down, he gets caught on his back. And when he gets caught on his back, he's kind of a fish out of water. He got submitted by Modestas Bukauskas with a submission that, you know, Bukauskas probably doesn't pull off against many other fighters. Didn't really like to see that for Prachnio. Now, Jimmy Crute has had his faults as well recently. I mean, he went through that little stretch where he was fighting Alonzo Minifield. They went to a draw. And you know, then he ends up getting submitted, I believe, right, in his next fight with him. And then he retired at like age 27. Just said he had some mental health issues going on. But apparently, you know, he got all that stuff in check, and he's ready to bounce back. You love to hear that for him. Majority decision or majority draw against Rodolfo Bellato. But, you know, I watched the Bellato fight. He had Bellato hurt in round 1. He had him mounted in round 1 for the duration of that round. He landed 106 significant strikes. He worked his ass off in that fight. Just took a little bit too much damage. The difference, though, between Alonzo Minifield and Rodolfo Bellato and Jamal Hill, Anthony Smith, is that Marcin Prachnio is nowhere near the level of some of those guys, but he's also not dishing out damage like some of those guys, and he's not going to have the takedown defense of a Alonzo Minifield or, you know, ground game of Anthony Smith or Bellato. So, you know, I think Jimmy Crute can come out here, and I do think he's going to have chances to hit Prachnio on the feet and hurt him, but I also think that he's going to have some pretty decent chances at just finishing him on the ground too. Like if he gets the fight there, I mean, I think this is going to be you know, more often than not, I think Crute is going to find himself in positions to pull off submissions against Prachnio. So all in all, if Crute death gasses, maybe Prachnio catches him with a head kick or something, there's a little bit of finish equity there later in the fight. But ultimately, man, I think Jimmy Crute kind of cruises out here, lands a lot of damage, gets the takedown, gets the submission, maybe ground and pound. Either way, the play for this fight I'm taking is fight to not go the distance at -175. That's what I'm liking here. I do think Prachnio can finish, Crute can finish Prachnio at a pretty high clip, especially early in the fight. So in case, though, you know, in case it does go a little bit later and one of these guys gasses and there's another finish, I didn't take the under 2.5 because we have seen Crute, you know, finish fights late, get finished late, that kind of thing. So, yeah, fight not to go the distance. That's what we're taking for Crute and Prachnio. But, man, I hope Jimmy Crute bounces back with a big performance because I like him, man. He's fun. He's always in fun fights, entertaining. He just needs a win. He's going to a lot of draws, having some bad luck. So, yeah, let's take Jimmy Crute. Let's root for Jimmy Crute, but let's just get a finish in this fight and we'll cash. All right, next fight, Adam Fuggit, Islam Dulatov. This one makes me nervous. I'll be completely honest, boys. I mean, Islam Dulatov, he's a Versace model. The guy comes in like a bat out of hell in the Contender Series. He throws big hooks on the feet. He's got tons of power. But -600, okay, in your debut. I hate to see it. I really do. We've seen this story 100 times. These guys come off the Contender Series or the regional scene where they've had tons of success, and they just kind of, you know, maybe the moment's a little bit too big for them. The stage is a little bit too big. This is UFC 318. You know, this is going to be a live crowd from the jump. And, you know, if Islam Dulatov can't manage his energy very well, he could get himself into some trouble. Even on that fight in the Contender Series, I thought he started to slow down a little bit. I mean, they only went halfway through the first, and he had landed 40 significant strikes, and it looked like he was starting to wear on him a little bit until he backed away from his opponent and just kind of crow-hopped in and got him really good with one to finish the fight. But, you know, if you don't finish the fight there and it gets to the second round, I'd be super interested to see how he looks because, you know, a guy like Adam Fuggit, yes, he hasn't won all of his fights in the UFC by any means, but he's fought some good levels of competition in Mike Malott and Michael Morales. Morales right now is knocking on the door of the top 5 with another win and a title shot in the near future if he keeps winning. Mike Malott, he's a bigger name right now, maybe Canada's best product for men's MMA. But, if you're not up to the level yet or you're not ready for this level, Adam Fuggit will pull off some wins on you. He beat Josh Quinlan by split decision in a fight. He outlanded Josh Quinlan 80-53. I didn't think that fight should have been a split. And then he KOs Yusaka Kinoshita using his elbows in round 1. And Kinoshita was this, slick striker everybody was going to be high on because he had some crazy slip check hook on the Contender Series. Yeah, Adam Fuggit made him look like he did not belong in the UFC whatsoever. I'm not saying that's going to be the case with Islam Dulatov here. I'm just saying at minus 600 for Dulatov off the Contender Series, I don't really like it against the guy who is tested against very, very good prospects. And he's beating guys that were supposed to be good prospects that never really panned out or just never really got the chance to get going. So I think this is a tougher fight for Dulatov than people are thinking. Do I think he wins? I think more often than not, if he comes in with the right game plan and conserves his energy, I do think he's going to be faster, more powerful, and have the grappling upside here. I just don't know if he's going to go out there have a massive adrenaline dump and, things go south in a hurry for him. So let me look at the odds real quick. I do think one way or the other, somebody's getting finished in this fight. I'm sure the odds on that are going to be absolutely insane. For fight not to go the distance, I'm guessing like minus a ton. Yeah, so under 1.5 is minus 188. Don't really love that whatsoever. You know what? We'll go fight does not start round 3, and we'll use it as a parlay piece. It's going to be a little bit over minus 200. Sometimes you just got to take those, parlay it with something, because right now with the lines that are out, there's just nothing really good, nothing of value on this. So, yeah, we'll parlay with that. I think there's a finish coming either side, honestly, before the third round. If somebody gasses, if Islam does come out and land some big shots early, he could definitely do it. So that's what we'll go with this fight. Just be careful if you're parlaying Islam Dulatov this week. I think all in all, you should just sit back and see what he offers at this level against a guy in Fuggit who's 2 wins in the UFC. So, yeah, we'll see what he's got. All right, next fight up, Atiba Gautier taking on Robert Valentin. Another fight that I'm excited to see because Gautier, man, I was honestly super impressed with his composure coming into his debut against Jose Medina. I thought this guy was just going to come out and swing wild and, go for broke right off the bat because we've seen him do that before. But he fought very, very technical with his striking. He took his time. He landed some shots. He was very accurate. And, he didn't rush anything. He would land a big shot, and he'd kind of step back because he knew he didn't have him fully hurt or enough to go for the kill. Against Jose Medina, who's tough, who's notoriously a guy that takes a ton of damage and just keeps going, it can make it interesting. But, showing that type of composure at 23 years old with all of this talent behind him. I mean, this guy is extremely athletic, extremely powerful with the striking, but his technical striking abilities look very, very good too. I want to see him in the grappling department because if he has some grappling, like this guy could be a serious prospect coming up, in a couple of years. Being that he's only 23, I mean, he's got time to get better too. So it's no big deal if he takes a loss sometime early on in his UFC career. I think that kind of loss is only going to make him better. I just don't really think he's taking a loss in this fight to Robert Valentin. I mean, Valentin can be kind of chaotic on the feet, maybe has some sneaky power just from, kind of marauding forward and throwing big shots. Robert Valentin, though, does have a decent ground game. I know we saw him against Torres Finney get taken down and just held there. But, we saw him against Ryan Loder, a super, super good wrestler. He had Ryan Loder in all the trouble in the world, had a couple submission attempts early in that fight. Not a lot of guys are getting to that position against Ryan Loder. So that was kind of impressive. The problem is I think he's outmatched here with the power, with the strength, with the speed, with the size. Gautier, I think if he keeps this fight on the feet, eventually he's going to find some big shots and enough shots to hit to hurt Valentin and then put him away one way or the other. Oh, let's see what the odds are. Yeah, I mean minus 550 though. It's another story of these are two guys still new to the UFC. We're not sure how fast they're progressing or what we're fully going to get out of them. But I do like a finish to happen early in this one because I think Gautier can put him away with the striking. But I also think if Robert Valentin, does pull off an underdog win, a big underdog win, it's probably going to be using the grappling and just catching Gautier in something that he's not ready for. All those reasons, I'm going to take this fight under 1.5. It's minus 145. It's not a great number, but there's just not a ton of value out on this fight as far as the line goes right now either. I mean, some of these fights that have a big favorite, you just got to bite the bullet and take one of these props that you think should hit more often than not. I think the under hits in this fight more often than not. So, I mean, you could look at knockout props, etc. Gautier by KO minus 265. I mean, you're getting the under at minus 145, and you're going to substitute that for Gautier KO at minus 265? I don't really think so. So, yeah, I think the under 1.5 is the way to go, especially since the book is showing so much respect to the power of Gautier that they've got him at minus 265. I mean, if they're showing that a possibility, and this is a guy who doesn't go past round one often, I mean, it tells me the under 1.5 is the play for sure. All right, next fight, Francisco Prado taking on Nikolai Veretinikov. A lot of these fights on the prelim, man. I mean, we know what we're getting with Prado, but Nikolai Veretinikov, he went to a really close fight with Danny Barlow, and not a lot of people expected that one. But Danny Barlow since then has been knocked out cold by Sam Patterson. Not a great look. Considering how big of a favorite he was in that spot. He was a massive favorite against Nikolai Veretinikov. It went to a close split decision in that fight. A lot of people thought that he won. And, then he goes in against Austin Vanderford and gets TKO'd via ground and pound in round number 2. The stats for that fight, Vanderford 39 significant strikes, Veretinikov 5. 2 takedowns for Vanderford. Just did not look good whatsoever. Was out, muscled. He was outgunned in every single department. But now you're getting Francisco Prado, who's going to be a few inches shorter, but a guy with big, big power. Okay, Francis Prado, if he's been putting in the work, like he's so young in the game, and he's so young just in general, in his mid-20s now, but when he came in, he was in his, lower 20s. I think Prado, if he's made improvements, should be able to go out here and win this fight because – I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with his defensive wrestling or grappling. I don't think Veretinikov's going to come out here and, put him through the ringer with the grappling. And while it's on the feet, Veretinikov might be a little bit more technical, but Prado swings. And he's not the, worst striker in the world if you're just going out there and having a boxing match. But he has a lot of power. He swings with ill intent. He's always looking to take your head off. If he lands a big shot against Veretinikov, I could definitely see him having his second knockout win in the UFC. I also look at Prado, and he lost to Jamie Malarkey by decision because he just got taken down and laid on. But then he knocks out Otman Azaitar. He loses to Daniel Zellhuber by decision. He hit Daniel Zellhuber with 90 significant strikes. Like, that's a good striker in Zellhuber that he went toe-to-toe with. Yes, he lost the fight clear as day, but, he stood his ground. He stayed tough. He took a lot of damage, never faltered, never stopped trying to win the fight. And, you like to see that out of guys. And then he lost to Jake Matthews in a fight where, they landed similar significant strikes. He even landed a takedown on Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews just did a little bit more damage. But Prado, I mean, you're fighting some good fighters there, and Jake Matthews and Zellhuber. I mean, and you're taking losses. Those are losses you're learning from. You're getting better. You're still super young. And now you're getting a Nikolai Veretinikov, who's 12-6. He's taken 6 losses before. He has yet to win on the Contender Series or in the UFC. And, Prado's minus 148 right now. So maybe Veretinikov gets his first win, but, I think Prado's in the same boat. His back's against the wall as well, just like Veretinikov. And, one of these guys is going to get the win here, but, both of them need it bad. So you can't really, use the Prado wants it more type of thing. I think Veretinikov is in the same boat, like I said, but I just think Prado's got a little bit more to offer. He's probably the one that can make improvements faster in between fights, in between losses. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go Francisco Prado on the money line. I like the power. I like the speed. I think he'll stand in there. I think he'll land more than Veretinikov and ultimately get the hand raised. Marvin Vettori, Brendan Allen. Now, if you guys remember a while back, these two threw down for a second in the casino. It was more like Brendan Allen running up, crow hopping, fed him one right in the jaw, and it got broken up from there at the Hard Rock Casino. And they don't like each other. They got bad blood stemming from all of that, and they've wanted to fight for a while now, and they're finally getting the chance to. Brendan Allen lately has kind of gone through the ringer. He's had a tough – he was on a good win streak, and then the UFC was forced to start giving the guys at the top of the division. He's fighting Nasruddin Imavov, Anthony Hernandez, and, it's shown to be a tough out for him when he's hit this level. Anthony Hernandez just used his wrestling and just kind of drowned him, got him tired, and then had his way. But Nasruddin Imavov, that fight started out with Brendan Allen landing a takedown, having top position, and you're thinking, oh shit, Brendan Allen's going to pull this thing off. But he just completely gassed out, like super bad. And Nasruddin Imavov worked his way back in the fight, did a lot of damage, outlanded him on the feet. Even had, Brendan Allen kind of desperation takedown mode, and it was not a good look to the judges whatsoever. I've always hated the body language of Brendan Allen as fights go on, especially in close rounds. Like if you're a judge and you're watching two guys fight, and one guy's, bouncing up and down even though he's tired, and he's sticking and moving still, and the other guy is just shooting sloppy takedowns, and when it gets stuffed, he's rolling over to his back and just laying there for a few seconds. Like that is awful optics. The judges are going to give it to the other guy 95% of the time, and that's one thing I've always hated about Allen. But on the flip side here for Vettori, he's had a rough stretch too, but he's fighting Roman Dolidze and Jared Cannonier. I think both those guys beat Brendan Allen. And then his losses before that, Robert Whittaker, former champion. Israel Adesanya, former champion. Israel Adesanya was his loss before that, former champion. So this guy has fought the highest level. He continues to do it. He hasn't taken that many losses to guys that he should be losing to. He beat Roman Dolidze in their first fight, beat Paulo Costa, Kevin Holland, Jack Hermanson, guys like that. So Vettori is starting to get more active now after a couple-year layoff. I think that's going to be good. I think we see a better version than we did against Roman Dolidze here. And another thing for me is that, if Brendan Allen can't get the wrestling going and he can't knock out Vettori, I think he could get tired here. And I think Vettori could take over the fight and later in the second and in the third. And it's going to come down to, how did that second round play out? Because I think Brendan Allen should win the first round at a high clip. And I think Marvin Vettori for sure wins the third round at a high clip. And it's all going to come down to round number 2. And in a fight that's going to be that close, I think you got to go with the dog, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Marvin Vettori at plus 170 here as the underdog. I know a lot of people are going to hate that pick, but it is what it is. I think he's the side. I think that's where the value lies. I think this is a way closer fight than Brendan Allen minus 205. You look at the spread, plus 3.5, meaning Marvin Vettori just has to win one round. It's minus 220. So that tells you the books know that Marvin Vettori is more than likely going to win one round. And if he wins one round, why is he plus 170 if he's already banking one? I don't know. So tells me I think this is a underdog shot here, and that's what I'm going to rock with in Marvin Vettori. So give me Vettori on the money line. Not like I'm super confident, but I think it's just an automatic click at this price tag. All right, Vinicius Oliveira, lock dog, taking on Kyler Phillips. Interesting fight here. But it's another one I got a problem with the line. Vinicius Oliveira, minus 155. It doesn't seem like a crazy line, but when you look at Kyler Phillips, this guy was minus 500, minus 600 in his last fight against Rob Font, and he lost. And now he's an underdog against the guy who hasn't fought this level of competition. It's just a little weird to me. I think people are writing off Kyler Phillips. I think Kyler Phillips, he put together that Marcelo Rojo win, Raoni Barcelos win, and Pedro Munoz win back-to-back, and he looked really good in every single one of those fights. Yes, he had the majority decision loss to Holly and Paiva, but before that, this guy beat Song Yadong. He's beat some very, very good fighters that are better, I believe, than Vinicius Oliveira right now. And, the loss to Rob Font, he just didn't look like himself. Kind of gassed out in that spot. But again, I think people are expecting him to do that again against Vinicius here, and I just don't really know if that's what you're exactly going to get. He hadn't really shown that too many times in the past. And another thing here is, if he gets the takedowns going, I think he's going to win the first round for sure, and he could win that second round. And if he doesn't get knocked out in the third, you're looking at 29-28 for Kyler Phillips. I mean, we've seen Vinicius Oliveira go out there and struggle with the takedowns before. He struggled against Bernardo Sopaj in his debut, and he just got lucky. Not lucky, but Sopaj, disservice to him. He gassed out so badly and then ate that knee in the third round and lost. But Bernardo went out there and dominated round one. He went out there in the second round, had him mounted, and the ref almost stopped the fight. I mean, he told Vinicius, you got to move, and he finally got out of the mount and was able to, pop back up, and luckily Sopaj was completely gassed. So, Ricky Simone landed 2 takedowns on him. Said Nurmagomedov landed 1 takedown on him in a very, very close fight. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think people understand still how good Kyler Phillips wrestling and grappling is. Like, I think he's a very, very high-level wrestler. I think he's a better wrestler than most guys that Vinicius has fought. And, if he comes out here and goes to that game plan, he could run the risk of gassing out, but I do think he's going to have success early with it. And I think his striking is slick enough to where it's not going to be so easy for Vinicius to just stand in front of him and, trade with him back and forth. Like, I think he's going to have to really work to find Kyler Phillips on the feet, especially in the early going. So I think this is a way closer fight than a lot of people are thinking it's going to be. I don't think this is a Vinicius Oliveira big knockout. I mean, Kyler Phillips hasn't been finished in the UFC. And if he doesn't, man, Vinicius gets tired too. So we'll see how it plays out. But let me look at the lines one more time before I give my official pick here. I just think that I think Kyler has a better chance than people think. I'm going to take Kyler Phillips plus 3.5 spread. So he's got to win 1 round on the judges' scorecards. And I think he wins round 1 at a high clip. I really do. I really, really do. So that's going to be the play for this fight. Kyler Phillips plus 3.5 spread. Let's hit it. All right, next fight up. Daniel Zellhuber, Michael Johnson. Zellhuber minus 600, big favorite in this fight. Not really that big of a surprise. I mean, Michael Johnson has lost almost 20 fights in his pro career. And Zellhuber's still younger, and he shows a lot of promise as being, a very slick striker, a guy who has great coaches around him with Eric Nixick at Extreme Couture. And he's only going to be getting better. And he's fought some killers so far, which I think is good for him. He hasn't really been fed an easy path in the UFC. He's still picked up some wins. He's taken some losses to good fighters that I think he's learned from. He's a kid that he's a super good guy. I've met him before in Kansas City when he fought there. He's you can tell he's a student of the game. He's constantly getting better. He wants to get better, and he's just dedicated his entire life to this. Beating Francisco Prado, Christos Giagos by submission. That's an interesting thing we'll talk about in a second. Lando Venata beat Lucas Almeida on the Contender Series. Losses to Steban Hibovic in the fight of the year, like literally the fight of the year, and then lost to Trey Ogden when Ogden kind of started going on his little run. So Michael Johnson, still got good hands, still got a little bit of power. It's just this guy has been put out so many times now in devastating fashion, and he's older. He's pushing 40, and now you're getting this younger guy who is very fast, throws good kicks, accurate, the whole 9 yards. Could Michael Johnson go out there and knock him out? Like, I guess he could, but I just I don't really see it happening at this point. Zellhuber's shown to eat all of Esteban Hibovic's shots and keep pushing forward, being on the verge of being out, and surviving those situations. I think he'll be able to do so here too if Michael Johnson lands a big shot. But does Zellhuber knock out Johnson? I'm kind of thinking he could for sure, but I'm not really putting the submission off the table either. I think Michael Johnson, if he has to go to the wrestling in this fight because he can't really find his range or distance, Zellhuber has pulled off front chokes before. He looks pretty competent in the grappling department. So all in all, man, I think you cover everything on this fight if you just take fight not go the distance at minus 150. You're covering Zellhuber knockout, you're covering Zellhuber sub, and you're covering the fact that Michael Johnson could find a big shot and clip Zellhuber somehow too. So that's what it's going to be for this fight. Pretty cut and dry for me. You're getting a very old guy against the young guy up and coming, and you're getting minus 150 on fight to not go the distance with one guy in Johnson who doesn't have much of a chin left, and another guy who's very accurate, has good kicks with Zellhuber. And, Zellhuber's not exempt from getting hurt or finished either, but Zellhuber's got a little submission upside too. So That's what it's going to be for this fight. And we move on. We're in the main card. I believe with that last fight, we started the main card. Now we're getting Dan Ige and Patricio Pitbull. And Pitbull, man, he's coming off the fight at Miami with Yair Rodriguez, which is a tough fight. Yair is a tough out. He's a tough style. He's hard to track down, especially for an older fighter who might not be as fast as he once was. Yair can be a pain in the ass to deal with, and I think he was, for sure, in that fight. Pitbull didn't throw a lot of volume. I just don't think he knew when to throw or how he was going to catch him and couldn't get his timing down. It'll be a little easier for him, too, here with Ige, because Ige is not as complicated as a striker, but Ige can crack. Ige can wrestle a little bit, and Ige's got heart for days. I mean, this guy has taken guys like, Diego Lopez to a sketchy third round for Diego when Dan Ige's on top, raining ground and pound, trying to finish the fight late. Dan Ige won't give up on himself. He'll stick to a game plan. He's another fighter who's with Eric Nixick out of Extreme Couture. I like those guys a lot. I think they put together phenomenal game plans. They don't sway away from it. And they go in there and they pick up wins more often than not. Oh, Pitbull, though, I mean, if he does rewind the clock a little bit, I think he competes with the striking of Dan Ige. I don't think he's knocking Dan Ige out whatsoever, and I really don't think he's going out there and out-wrestling him. Maybe he could take the back while they're standing and then work from there. We've seen Ige get his back taken before. But I just think Ige, at this point, the younger fighter, more explosive, going to be stronger. I just think wherever this fight goes, Ige could get out of bad positions, but while it's on the feet, it's going to be Ige landing the big shots. We saw Pitbull drop by Yair. I mean, if Yair can drop you, I think Dan Ige can drop you as well. More often than not, I think this fight goes to a decision, goes over 2.5. But, it's basically the same price as just taking – you're actually getting a better price just taking Dan Ige at minus 220. I'm going to take him right here at minus 220. We'll use it as a parlay piece if we have to. Outside of that, I don't really like many knockout or submission props or round props in this fight. And, you're getting a better price on Ige than just taking the over. So, Dan Ige will be the play for this one. All right. Kevin Holland taking on Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland was getting so much hate when he was on his little losing streak. And, people accusing him of not trying, not caring. And maybe there's a little truth to that. Maybe he didn't care as much as he once did. And he just cared about getting his checks, getting the money. And he was fighting 5 times a year. He's on the path to fight 6 or 7 times this year. But I think he's taking it a lot more serious. He's dropping down a weight class to 170 lately. And it's played a big factor. I mean, he took the loss to Roman Dolidze. He took the loss to Ranier de Ritter. Those are less than a year ago, too. And that's not even his most recent fights. Those are at 185 pounds. He drops down. Gunnar Nelson gets the unanimous decision win. Outstrikes him 55-15. Got taken down and survived Gunnar Nelson's submission attempts. Landed a knockdown. He fought very, very well, and you could just tell 170, he's got that size advantage, the reach advantage, speed advantage, still dropping down a weight class, and looked really good. And then he goes up against Vicente Luque, and he's landing big shots, and, he gets the takedown of his own, and then wraps up the anaconda choke, and that's all she wrote. Kevin Holland has such underrated jiu-jitsu. He's got power in the hands, and I think at 170, that power and that speed translates so well that he's going to pick up a lot of wins. And now he's getting another older guy, similar to Luque and Daniel Rodriguez, whose better days are definitely behind him. Yes, D-Rod's coming off of a couple of wins, but it's Alex Morono. Morono has looked like dog shit, if I'll be honest. I don't think he's at this level anymore. And then he beat Ponzinibbio, who, Ponzinibbio's an older guy too, and just doesn't have much of a chin left. He's always getting touched and hurt, and it happened with D-Rod late in the fight. But before that, D-Rod's losing to Kelvin Gastelum easily, got taken down 4 times by him. He lost to Ian Gary by knockout. Neil Magny submitted him. If Neil Magny's going out and submitting you, and Kelvin Gastelum's taking you down 4 times and boxing you up, landing the bigger shots, I mean, what the hell is Kevin Holland going to do to you? I mean, Kevin Holland, younger than those guys, faster than those guys, more power, just as good a jiu-jitsu as Neil Magny on the mat, probably better. I think this is Kevin Holland by finish all day long. I love D-Rod. He's had a long career in the UFC. I just don't think the durability is there to go in with these younger guys like Kevin Holland, who's an absolute killer. And I just think that's what it is. So we'll go with Kevin Holland by finish minus 140. That's by knockout or submission. I'm not taking either or because this guy has proven time and time again he can pull it off, and you'll never see which one's coming. So that's what it is, Holland by finish. All right, co-main event time, Roman Kopylov, Paulo Costa. I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, Paulo Costa is probably the betting side if you're taking money line here. Minus 250 on Roman Kopylov against anybody. Like, yes, he's got the highlight knockouts with the kicks, and his kickboxing is phenomenal. This guy gasses out quite a bit, and we've seen it happen when he goes up against guys who want to grapple him. I don't know if Paulo Costa is going to grapple him, though. That's what's made me hesitant of taking Paulo Costa on the money line. At this stage in Paulo's career, he's struggling to get those wins. He's not fighting very often. He's not active anymore. But, he fought Sean Strickland June 1st, so about a year ago. Before that, he fought 6 months before that against Robert Whittaker. I mean, Paulo Costa has fought some serious competition, okay? His only win in the last 5 years is Luke Rockhold in a damn good fight, a fun fight. But, he's fighting Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, Marvin Vettori. But before that, man, Paulo Costa came into the UFC beating guys like Johnny Hendricks, Uriah Hall, when Uriah was good, Yoel Romero. So, yeah, this guy's fought the who's who in some of the older generation, some of the newer generation, and some of the current guys. So it just makes it tough, man, because if Paulo Costa doesn't have a sense of urgency and just kind of fights from the outside, he's probably going to get his body kicked off, his head kicked off, and, beat to a decision. I think Costa's durable enough here to survive. But if he comes in here and makes it dirty and forces Kopylov to clinch and wrestle a little bit, I think he can slow Kopylov down. And if Kopylov slows down, I think Paulo Costa is a guy that if he gets a little bit of confidence in the cage, he starts to build off of that. And then he turns into a better and better fighter as the fight goes on. If that happens here, man, I think Paulo Costa at this money line, you're going to be holding a good ticket. Either way, though, I think this fight plays out a lot more close than a minus 250 for Roman Kopylov, okay? I mean, Kopylov beat Chris Curtis, but, that fight was stopped with 1 second left, and Chris Curtis was on one knee. It's not like he was out. Bad stoppage, in my opinion. Roman Kopylov beat Cesar Almeida, split decision. Almeida outstruck him 58-41. Roman Kopylov had to resort to his wrestling to pull that off, and he was absolutely gassed to all hell at the end of that fight. Okay, if he gets in that situation, I don't think he's wrestling Paulo Costa. I don't think he has that opportunity here. Before that, Anthony Hernandez exposed him with the wrestling, submitted him in round 2. But and then before that, man, he's beating guys like Josh Fremd, Claudio Ribeiro, Punahele Soriano's a good win. Before that, Alessio De Chirico, who's like 40 years old, loses to Albert Duraev, got taken down in that fight and, outstruck 71-42. I don't think Kopilov's a world beater or enough to be minus 250 against Paulo Costa. I really don't. Let me look at what we got for the odds here on other props and stuff, because I'm so tempted to take Paulo Costa plus 206, but at the end of the day, man, it's just he's getting a little bit older. He's a little unpredictable on how motivated he's going to be and all that stuff, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and take Paulo Costa plus 3.5 spread. You'll get decent plus money. And then, we'll take a flyer on plus 205 at Paulo Costa as well. And then, have a little chance if he wins. We're cashing both bets. You just got to win one round to cash the other. Allocate your money to where you're winning money no matter what. But if he wins the fight, we'll cash a little extra money on him too. So that's what's going to be. Paulo Costa plus 3.5 spread. A little sprinkle on his money line at plus 200. I just think this fight's way closer than what the odds are saying. All right. Main event time, Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier. These are two of my favorite fighters. I mean, I went to Kansas City to watch Max Holloway for one of my first UFC events. Absolutely have loved watching Max Holloway fight for his whole entire UFC career. I mean, the guy has been in wars. You look at the Justin Gaethje fight. You look at the Calvin Kattar fight. Max Holloway has given us some of the most viral moments in UFC history in the last 10 years at least. I mean, he's always in these big fights where he puts on a show. He can take damage. even against Ilia Topuria, man, he was doing good in that fight until he wasn't, until he gets knocked out. But he's shown time and time again, he can hang with anybody on the feet in the UFC in these divisions, 145, 155. For Dustin, Dustin Poirier, I've got a ton of Dustin Poirier shirts. I should have worn one for the show. But, Dustin coming off of a fight with Islam Makhachev, where Islam proved to just be a little bit too much. Dustin, I'd say, can hang his head high on that performance. But he still didn't look phenomenal to me in that spot. He got taken down 5 times. There's a couple submission attempts before he actually got submitted with the Darce. And Islam still outstruck him on the feet. I think Dustin, against Max Holloway is going to have chances to land big shots. I do think that if somebody's getting knocked out, it's probably Dustin. Even though Max just got derailed by Ilia Topuria, that's the first time we've ever seen him really drop badly or knocked out. And I just don't know if Dustin Poirier's got the speed or the power to knock out Max. I'm not saying Dustin Poirier doesn't have power at this stage. He obviously does. I was there live when he knocked out Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm just saying, I don't think Max's chin is completely dust just because he lost to Ilia by knockout. And, he's fought Dustin Poirier twice before. Dustin couldn't finish him in those fights. Now at this age, retirement fight, this stage of his career after a war with Islam, I'm not really thinking that Dustin's going to come out here and knock him out in this one either. For Max Holloway, he's never been like a big one-punch KO guy. Yes, he has some, like against the Korean Zombie and obviously Justin Gaethje, but he's not coming out here and starching guys in the first round that often. His game is going to be to feel you out, exploit your weaknesses on the feet, land some volume, land some decent leg kicks if he has to. It's such an even fight between these two that I don't think we're going to see grappling, because I think these two know they want to put on a show for the fans. They've both kind of agreed to it. And then it just all comes down to who's going to land more damage. Historically, it's been Dustin in their first 2 fights. But, this is a 31-year-old Holloway against the Dustin Poirier coming off of a war with Islam. He got knocked out by Justin Gaethje a few fights before that, submitted by Charles Oliveira, ate some big shots there. It just makes me think that, if he's just a step slower or not taking the shots as well, that Max Holloway is going to build and build and build in this 5-round fight. Max has never really had a problem with cardio, ever. So I hate to do it, but, I know we're in Louisiana here, but I'm going to take Max Holloway on the money line. It kills me to do it, too. Like, I love both these guys. I don't want to see either of them lose. I think we do get a phenomenal fight, but I do think Max might just be a little faster at this point. He's filling out at 155 now compared to just being tiny and, putting on muscle and weight really, really fast to make this weight class. I think he's transitioned to this weight class the right way. He looks big. He looks very, very big. And I think it's the right time to do it. 30, 31 years old after a long career at featherweight. I think now's the time to stay at 155 and make a home here, whereas Dustin is leaving the division, leaving the UFC, retiring. I think Holloway, really wants to get this win. You can't go 0-3 to another guy. He already did it to Alexander Volkanovski. I think Holloway gets it done. It's not a confident pick. It's not a pick that I love to make, but that's what's going to be. And that's the One Bet Show for UFC 318. I appreciate all you guys being here once again. If you would, drop a like, drop a comment, and please hit that subscribe button. Every video that we do not do well in with the bets, I do a giveaway. I actually got the last person's giveaway from a few weeks ago getting shipped out tomorrow. I give away a bunch of Ghost products you'll see behind me. Shout out to Ghost, the best hydration, the best energy drinks in the game. They've got great protein, creatine, and all that too. Been shipping out that stuff to people. So make sure you always watch. I'll be completely transparent if I have a losing week, and you guys will know it because, again, I'll be announcing a giveaway, and it's a couple $100 worth of a good gross product. So, again, guys, if you guys do want to support me, go to Better DFS, download the Better app, see if your state has it available, and just use code Nolan when you sign up and deposit. 100% deposit bonus. Go deposit $10, get an extra $10, and throw it on an 8-leg parlay, and you can try to 100x your money. You could turn $10 into 1,000 like that. Just make sure you use code Nolan when you sign up. Greatly appreciated. And another sponsor of the show, Legendz Sportsbook and Casino. It's a social sports book and casino, which they give you free coins you can play with daily, and you can buy coins as well and trade them in for cash. But I mean, if you go to this sports book, you guys will find how addicting it is to play the free games too. And they give you, I mean, they got slots, blackjack, all that stuff that you can play with your free coins you get daily. They've got sports, every sport you can think of, all the lines for the UFC, KO props, sub props, round props, all that stuff. So hit the link is going to be in my description for Legendz. Go sign up. One of the official sponsors of the show. Shout out to Legendz. Their app, I'm telling you, is a hell of a lot of fun. And again, if you want my premium plays, winnable.com/HOFpicks. Use code 318. If you're a new user, you'll get the plays completely free this weekend with a 5-day free trial. Get Hayjai's picks. We're up a combined almost 50 units this year, and it's growing. We're on a little hot streak right now the last 2.5 weeks with PFL and UFC, looking to keep it going. Again, I wouldn't be shit without you guys watching this show every single week. So, it's important to me to show my gratitude towards you guys. So all the likes, all the comments, hate or not, I welcome all of that too. It just all means a lot to me. The UFC gives us this outlet, man, to watch these fights every single Saturday. We get 6 to 7 hours to just escape from the everyday bullshit. I'm a dad of 2 sons, a husband, and, a lot of times we get caught up, going 100 mile an hour with that we never take time for ourselves. So, for me, as a lot of you guys, the UFC is an escape. It's a one way I can just relax and enjoy myself, if we're hitting bets. If we're not hitting our bets, obviously, it's a little stressful, but it is a way and a thing to look forward to every single week. That's the way I use it. I'm sure you guys too. It means a lot to me that you guys watch me in preparation for your, experience with the UFC too. So thank you again for being here. Hit the like button, drop a comment, hit subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week for the next video.